Hey everybody, I'm Nicole Ricci and I am rolling out in my 2017 Ram ProMaster City. Currently, I'm living out of my van and I'm traveling around. We're going to pick this vlog up where I last started in South Carolina. So from Congaree, I headed to Columbia, South Carolina, and I visited the Capitol building there, and I actually joined a Boy Scout troop on a tour of the Capitol building. So Charleston was actually the home of South Carolina's first state house. So in 1753, construction of that building began, but in 1790, the state house in Columbia was originally first used by the legislature. They actually have some really cool items here in the State House. One of them is a big sword, and another is a mace that was given by, I believe it was King George the Third from Great Britain, or they may have purchased it. Either way, these items are very special to the State House, and they're used to show that the Congress is in session. So the mace is in the House chambers, and so when the Senate is in session, they'll bring it out, set it up, and it actually lights up the whole room. And it's really special to see this happening, and I was so excited that they brought it out and showed it to us. I got to get up close and personal, and they say this mace is priceless. And I forget how much the sword was, many, many millions of dollars. So I thought it was really special. I got to go sit in the chairs, and I really enjoyed this tour of the Columbia State Capitol. After the Capitol building, I walked around Columbia for a little bit, and then I headed to Atlanta, Georgia. My friend Megan lives there. She has a really cute apartment. She hosted me for a couple days, and she's a student at Georgia Tech. She's actually pursuing a doctorate degree. She's so smart. She's amazing, and it was such a pleasure to visit her. She showed me around, gave me a great tour of the city. One thing she showed me was the Beltline, which is actually 22 miles of unused railroad tracks circling the core of the city's town and neighborhoods that they've paved and made a really nice walking, running, and biking path. She also took me to a really cute cafe for lunch.
All right, we're here at Victory Sandwich Bar. We got some little sandwiches. Yeah.
Another place I visited was Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park, and this is the birthplace of Martin Luther King Jr. So you actually can go to his childhood home. He was born in that home. You can go to Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Martin Luther King Jr., his father, and his grandfather all pastored, along with Fire Station number 6, the original firehouse when Martin Luther King Jr. was living here, a couple other houses, and then also the King Center with Dr. and Mrs. King's tomb and a view of the eternal flame. I continued walking around downtown Atlanta, and I stumbled across Centennial Olympic Park. Atlanta, Georgia actually hosted the 1996 Summer Olympics, so I walked around the Olympic grounds for a while, and I've done that in a couple other cities, too, that have hosted the Olympics. Being in a capital city, of course I had to visit the Capitol building, so I did, and I got just as lucky as I did in Columbia, South Carolina. I was able to join a tour, and this was a little bit less organized. It was actually a school tour, and I kind of just snuck in the back, but was once again very lucky to be able to hear a little bit of information about the Capitol, because in Atlanta, the Capitol doesn't have normally scheduled tours to just join in. So it worked out really great for me to be able to join the school tour. Also, similar to South Carolina, is the Capitol buildings have not always been in this spot. So Georgia's Capitol building moved from a couple different places, eventually landing in Atlanta, which was a great central spot. Finally, it was 1883, legislators finally approved $1 million for the construction of the new Capitol in Atlanta, and in 1884, the old city courthouse was demolished in preparation for construction. There was also a Christmas concert, so I got to hear some kids in a little orchestra. I really loved visiting all the Capitol buildings at Christmas because they were so nicely decorated. Anyways, Atlanta is Georgia's largest city, and it's also the 9th largest metropolitan area in all of the United States. So it was great to visit Atlanta. I continued making my way through Georgia and ended up in Alabama, where I visited Montgomery, the capital, and visited the Capitol building. Here I actually had a private tour of the Capitol. There was a man who just walked me around. It's a fairly small Capitol building, but similar to Columbia, similar to Atlanta, not the first city of the Capitol building. It wasn't until 1846 that the Capitol was moved to Montgomery, Alabama. I was able to see the meeting room for the House of Representatives, the State Chamber, the old Supreme Court chamber, and the library. So the Supreme Court met in the Capitol building originally, and a lot of it has been restored to its original 1861 appearance. After the Capitol, I walked around a little bit more. I visited Dexter Avenue King Memorial Baptist Church. I visited the Rosa Parks Memorial. I walked by the National Memorial for Peace and Justice and the Civil Rights Memorial, but I didn't have enough time to go into the museums, which was really unfortunate because Montgomery had was the center of the civil rights movement, and notably the Montgomery bus boycotts were here. So it was unfortunate, but I caught a nice sunset on the river, walked by the riverfront, and ended my day there in Montgomery. I had one more stop in Alabama, and that was Mobile for the USS Alabama Battleship Memorial Park. So there was a lot here. A lot of aircrafts. They had them all over the property and then also an aircraft pavilion. They also had a couple different memorials, including the Korea Veterans Memorial, which my grandpa Tom Smith was in the Korean War. They also had a Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which my grandpa Tom Ricci was in the Vietnam War, serving on the USS Ticonderoga. So at the Memorial Park, they have the USS Alabama battleship. They have the USS Drum submarine. They also have an aircraft pavilion with lots of tanks and artillery. The USS Alabama got its beginnings on February 1st, 1940, as the keel was laid in Virginia. Battleship USS Alabama, or BB-60, had a remarkable career, beginning in World War II, starting in the North Atlantic in 1943. And then later that year going to the South Pacific seas. It was home to 2,500 crew, and it weighs 45,000 tons as a war machine in World War II. It culminated with BB-60 leading the American fleet into Tokyo Bay on September 5th, 1945. She is 680 feet in length, has a 108 feet beam, 194 feet above the keel, and the draft is 33 feet. And its actual weight when fully loaded is 42,500 tons, and its speed is 28 knots. It has 4 engine rooms, each carrying 2 boilers and 2 turbines, and 4 propellers, 2 5-bladed and 2 4-bladed, each weighing 18.2 tons. I wanted to point out this exhibit because this is a view of what it would be like to be a prisoner of war. And oftentimes these prisoners were actually on other enemy battleships, confined in a room of the ship. Alabama's first major Pacific engagement was in the Gilbert Islands in November of 1943. From this assignment, the battleship proceeded to Roy and Nauru. After heavily bombarding these installations, she moved to Kawalang and Maharo Islands, where the fleet moved into Anchorage and commenced planning the forthcoming attack on the Caroline and Marianas Islands. Apart from all the missiles and being in battle, it is a large boat. So it's almost like a cruise ship what I can compare it to a large cruise ship, because a ship this big literally has everything, but even to a greater extent, because people are living on this boat for an extended period of time. So they have a barber shop. They have a very in-depth doctor's office and dentist's office. They have, of course, different places to eat in the kitchen and different bathrooms in different areas of the ship. And then missile storage. They have these huge, I don't know what you would call them, bullets taller than I am. And then they have the crew quarters. This is the blacksmith shop where they would fix things and create things. There's also a church on board, which means they probably had some type of pastor or priest. They have pews with Bibles on them. They also have a post office. So one of these soldiers works, is designated to work in here, organizing everyone's mail. I'm now in the USS Drum, which is a submarine, and I thought the Baronoff Dream quarters were small. This is the officers' quarters, and it's a really small room. So the USS Drum is much smaller. This is a submarine. It is 311 feet in length. Its beam is 27 feet. It has, again, 4 engines, 9-cylinder opposed piston diesel engines. Its battery is 2x4 bladed propellers. Its max speed surfaced is 20 1/4 knots, which is about 23 miles an hour. And max speed submerged is 8 3/4 knots, or 10 miles per hour. So that's interesting there. Quite a bit difference of speed. So the USS Drum SS-228 submarine was launched May 12th, 1941, and it arrived at Pearl Harbor from the East Coast on April 1st, 1942. Okay, now I'm just walking around downtown Mobile. I went to Dauphine Street and the Cathedral Basilica of the Immaculate Conception. I walked in there, actually had just started a service, so I sat in, and I know the Lord's Prayer, so I could participate a little bit with that. And it's a beautiful day. I'm gonna end the vlog here, so thank you so much for watching. If you've made it all the way through, good for you. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, like this video, and I will see you next time wherever my van takes me. Bye!